Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kother and it is so nice to meet you. Originally, this was supposed to be a get ready with me while I answer these questions, and oh my goodness, I could not do the Q&A while doing my makeup at the same time. So I was like, I'm gonna keep it simple, answer the questions, and then I will do another video showing all the makeup products that I use. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing. I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into the questions. The first one is, what is your best tip for minimalism? So before I get into minimalism and like what I think is the best tip, I think it's really important to understand that it means differently for everyone. For me personally, minimalism means living intentionally. So asking yourself why you're buying certain things, just being more self-aware with your purchases and the time and energy that you spend on doing things on a daily basis. I'm constantly asking myself these questions. This is not a one-time thing that you do and then be done. So I would advise, and my biggest tip would be to just live more intentionally. I'll give you an example to help you understand that. I didn't even search for minimalism, it just like happened. I had gotten pregnant, I was going through a divorce, I didn't have a lot of money, and I was in a place where I was really stressed trying to buy all these things that you're supposed to buy when you have a baby. And I ended up having a baby shower, and so many people purchased me so many gifts, which I am so grateful for. And I realized when Nadine came that I didn't really use much of it. And so over time, I started to see that like, wow, like I bought all these things and I didn't even use it. Like for example, her bassinet, like we bought one and she ended up co-sleeping with me for like the first 4 months of her life. So I feel like after that situation, I realized like I just spent a lot of time and money, and other people bought me all these things from my registry that I picked, and I just felt like, okay, I need to reevaluate and like really be more intentional with my purchases. Otherwise, I'm just gonna constantly not have money to take care of my daughter, for example. So I started to pay attention to how I was feeling when I bought certain things. Are you buying things because you're emotional and you are just going to feel good about buying these things in the moment? Really asking yourself why you're doing things. And if you want to dive in deeper, you can also ask like, where's the product coming from, who's selling it, and just not be brainwashed by all the marketing that is out there. Yes, minimalism is having less things, but don't get so caught up on the number. It's more of an intentional lifestyle. If you want to know more about my minimalism journey, I can make another video because that's like a whole nother topic. But I hope that that was helpful for the person who asked. Most challenging part of being a solo parent, how do you balance it all? I would say the most challenging part of being a solo parent is definitely taking care of myself. There are many times where, you know, I want to feed Nadine the best food, or I have to work or I want to make time to hang out with her or make time for friends or family or whatever. And I realized over time that like, I don't take care of myself. I took a solo trip last summer. My mom and my sister watched Nadine, and I realized the power of taking care of myself for not only me, but also for Nadine. I felt like I became a better mom after that. I'm constantly trying to prioritize me. If I feel burnt out or I feel overwhelmed, I just ask for help. And that kind of ties into the next question of how do I balance it all? I have a ton of help. It was very intentional to move in with my parents. I asked them, I was like, hey, can I move in? Like I had my own apartment, I broke the lease, everything, and I moved in with my parents. I was like, I need the help. I'm not doing this on my own. And so over time, I've been able to ask for help because I think a lot of people around me didn't know how to help because I wasn't being clear on what I needed. I was just so stressed at the very beginning, and when I had Nadine, and people around me are like, what do you need? And I'm like, I don't know what I need. Like, I'm overwhelmed. So I would start there and figuring out like what you need and then ask for help. I put her in childcare. It was a tough decision to make. Nobody in my family had done childcare before, and so I was like the first in my family to do it. But I realized that when I kept Nadine at home while I was working, I was neglecting her, and it was just too stressful. Yeah, I would say the way I balance it all is by asking for help, you know, knowing that I need help, knowing that I can't do it alone. In terms of content creating and working and being a solo parent, I'm still trying to figure that out, but I enjoy content creating. I love creating videos here on YouTube. So for me, it's like my evenings and weekends, if I spend time doing it, it doesn't really bother me. And for the most part, most of my content is lifestyle. So a lot of things that I'm eating, a lot of things that I'm doing with my daughter, I'm already doing. So I'm just taking you guys along with me. So yeah, just making sure that you're enjoying what you're doing, you're prioritizing yourself. And yeah, I hope one day that, you know, I'd be able to parent with someone. I think it would be really cool. But before I go into the next question, there's a couple things I want to clarify on here about, you know, solo parenting, because I don't want people to assume or anything like that. Like Nadine's dad is in Virginia, he's in a different state, so he chooses to be there, and I'm in California and I chose to stay here to raise my daughter here, and so he comes and visits and I have full custody. So with that, I have become the solo parent automatically. There's a lot of people who are actually in a similar situation as me. Just because I'm single, people assume that, oh, it's so difficult. And it's like, there's a lot of moms who are solo parenting. And there's a lot of moms who, if they're home with their kids and their spouse is out working, that they're doing it all on their own. I'll share an example. So I have a friend who her husband's in the military and she's currently raising her son on her own. He comes and visits and she's basically solo parenting. It's not a big deal because that's just like their life situation. I have another friend, her husband's in school and she's taking care of her daughter for the most part, and that's what works for them. I have another friend, they're both, her and her partner are in medical fields, and her husband works like four overnight shifts, and then she works 3 days a week on the days that he's home, and so they alternate, and so they're solo parenting as well. Really try to pay attention to also the terminology of using solo parenting. I'm not offended whatsoever, but I'm just wanted to kind of clarify that, because I think I struggled a lot with the single mom title, and now I'm like, you know, I'm just a solo parenter, and she does have her dad, he comes and visits, and if we need anything, he's there for us. And that's pretty much it. It's not a big deal. I feel like people who are going through breakups and divorce make things such a big deal, like, oh, for the child, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, there are a lot of people who solo parent even in relationships, and it's totally okay. You don't need to make it a big deal. So I just want to clarify that before I move on to the next question. It's raining outside, so it's a little gloomy, so I apologize if it's a little dark, but yeah, let's go to the next question. So let's see. How did you mentally cope with your divorce? Therapy is probably the simple answer. I think that going to therapy has helped me a lot with just being more aware of why I chose the partners that I chose and why things didn't work out for whatever reason. So I think that just kind of gave me a lot more confidence in moving forward. So I highly recommend going to a therapist if you can. Yeah, so I'm just gonna share briefly about like my story, and I hope that it helps other people. That's kind of my intentions going forward with it. So I met my first ex-husband when I was 19. We got married when I was 21. I had been homeschooled and pretty much sheltered most of my life, and at that point, and I just didn't know much about like the real world. And I was married to him for a few years, and it was not really a shock when it came to us getting a divorce. It was like one of those things where I kind of saw it coming, and I was like, you know, we're just different and we want different things, but it still caused a lot of heartbreak. I was really sad that it ended. And then I remember at that time, this was like over 10 years ago. This was like in 2011, 2012. It wasn't as common to like get a divorce at that time. So like that name was like really heavy for me to carry. And I carried that with me majority of my 20s. And I'm sharing this because I really look back and I don't think that I handled my first divorce the right way, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I just want to share that in hopes that maybe someone else won't do what I did. But I basically let that divorce title like totally crush my confidence, my self-worth. I was looking at, you know, at men for validation. I was not confident in decision making for myself. I was always going to family and friends whenever I had issues to help me make a decision because I didn't want to be a failure. It has nothing to do with him. It was just the title and just like society, like expectations, like I'm a divorced woman. And yeah, I just put myself in really bad situations, and I kind of carried that with me into my second marriage. I remember, you know, family were encouraging me to marry Anwar, Nadine's dad, for those who don't know, and he's a great guy. He's one of the chillest guys I've ever met, and yeah, he was someone that my family had introduced me to, and it was just like at that point I didn't trust myself, and I felt like everyone around me knew what was best for me and I didn't know what was best for myself in that moment. And I was just this really insecure, ton of baggage woman that went into this marriage. And yeah, I fell in love with Anwar in the mix of like all the stuff that I was going through. I did fall in love with him, and I know I wanted a family, but there was just like a lot of things that happened. Like I would get angry or, you know, frustrated or overwhelmed or stressed or sad, and I didn't know like why I was feeling this way. And I started having like resentment towards my family, and it was like this weirdest thing, but I just kept pushing and I really wanted to have a kid. That marriage wasn't truly my decision. I had not felt that confidence and that my self-worth was there. I was putting it all into a guy. And I mean, can you blame me? We live in a culture where it's so, and like our community is so obsessed with getting married and like putting your status and value into a man. I mean, I have so much compassion for myself because it was just, I did the best that I could in that moment. I thought that that was the right decision. And then we got married, and yeah, it just didn't work out. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is happening again. Like, I need to stop pointing fingers at my ex-husbands, and I need to start pointing fingers at myself and ask myself, what are things that I need to improve and work on, so then if I do get another relationship, that I can be the best version of myself. And I went deep. I went to therapy, and I went into like childhood stuff, things that I didn't really resolve in terms of relationships that I had in the past, friendships and stuff like that. And slowly over the last few years and becoming a mom, my confidence have gotten like better. I would say in the last 6 months or so, which was last summer, it was 2 years since I got divorced. I would say the last 6 months, my confidence has been coming back, and it takes a lot of work to do. I've been doing weekly therapy sessions for 6 months, and you know, really diving into like doing the work to heal. Of course I make so many mistakes. I have made so many mistakes, but they don't define me and my future. And so yeah, and people always think that like, you have it all together, you look so happy, like you're so strong, you're getting through this. And the truth is, I cried a lot. I was sad a lot, and I was very shocked. I remember thinking when me and Nadine's dad broke up and I was pregnant in my apartment, and I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm pregnant, you know, I'm not with my ex-husband anymore, and I lost my job during the pandemic, and it was just like a lot of things. And I've learned so much from those relationships. And as a Muslim, I believe that, you know, all these things were written for me, and I'm just gonna do my part to be a better person. And yeah, I think it's all about your mindset and how you can take the situation and this failure and make it into something successful. I'm gonna share a couple of books that have helped me a lot. This book, Thriving After Divorce, I felt like it really, really helped me kind of navigate the end of a relationship, because it is a grieving process. You can kind of look at it as like a death, like you just lost this person that you're so close to. So treat it as it is, and go get the resources that you need to help heal with that. Another one that I recently read is The Untethered Soul. It really helps a lot with like your thoughts, how you can control your thoughts and be mindful of your thoughts and how to keep them in check. And I really enjoyed that book. Another book that I've read is called What Happened to You. It's written by Oprah and Bruce Perry. They have a podcast with SHETTY. I'll link all of it down below. And they go in about like your childhood trauma, how that stuff is carried in your body, how, you know, why you pick certain people to marry or be in relationship with, why you act a certain way. I just felt like that was such a good conversation about trauma and like healing. So yeah, I feel like I'm in a better place now. I did start dating and I just feel like I'm able to see red flags. I'm able to trust my intuition now. I don't really text my girlfriends or my parents like, what do you think about this dude? And I'm like, no, it's all what I think is best for me. And I think it's kind of affected a lot of aspects of my life. I feel the confidence to create a YouTube channel now. I'm comfortable standing in front of a camera. I feel very comfortable within my own skin. And I truly believe that that is what has helped me overcome both of my breakups. And yeah, I think that if I can do it, you definitely can too. So yeah, that was a very heavy, long answer, but I appreciate you asking me this, and I am happy to share it, and I hope that it helps anyone who's going through a hardship. Just remember that you can get through it, and you will get through it. It is hard, but you definitely got this, and whatever you put your mind to, you will be able to get through it for sure. I do want to add one more thing before I go into the next question. If you're a person who's parenting and going through a divorce, the best thing that I've learned, I actually got a therapist for Nadine, and she has her own therapist that I talk to, and that helps me navigate this situation because my mom and dad and people around me have not gone through what I've gone through, and no one understands. And so I go get help to help me navigate this. I'm not expected to know all these things. And so one of the biggest advice that the therapist gave me is to always think of what's best interest for my child. So whatever it is, whatever is best for Nadine, that is what I'm gonna do. And Anwar knows that, and we have a very respectful relationship, and I do put my stuff aside and try to be friendly with him for the sake of Nadine. So just thinking about the bigger picture and thinking about what's best for the kid, fighting, arguing, talking crap behind your ex's back, that's just stuff that I'm not gonna do. Those are like low vibrations. And make sure that I'm speaking highly of her dad and speaking in a very respectful way, because at the end of the day, that's her father. So yeah, just keep in mind that you need to do what's best for interest for your child, and it's not easy. There are times where I cry, there's times where I get really upset, but I have a therapist and I have people that are around me that can help me. But I do think that it is possible, and I will link some other books that have helped me with co-parenting. I don't live in the same city as my ex, so my situation is very unique, and so we see him whenever he comes to visit, and we don't really deal with each other on a daily basis. And since she's a baby, we just keep it at that. For the most part, I think that keeping Nadine in mind through navigating co-parenting has been giving me a lot more patience and compassion towards my ex and for myself, and knowing that we're all humans and we all make mistakes and we can forgive but also have boundaries. So it's just like a way of doing it, and therapy has definitely helped me a lot. So the last question that I have here is, what are my go-to kids dinners? So go-to kids dinners, I don't really have separate meals for Nadine and then separate meals for me. Whatever I make, Nadine eats. And I obviously keep her in mind when I cook. I try to cook healthy and give her a well-balanced meal. My go-to though would be, we definitely do tacos once a week, be it shrimp tacos. Sorry y'all, my battery died. And by the time I charged it, it was already time to get Nadine. So she's here with me. We're currently snacking on some seaweed. Here. It's like one of her favorites. But yeah, I'm currently defrosting some pasta sauce for dinner, and I thought it would be perfect to kind of go over the question that was asked about in terms of go-to dinners for kids. You're eating the seaweed in the background. Okay. One at a time, one at a time. Here, I'll give you one. No, one at a time. Okay. But my go-to meals are definitely pasta with ground beef, vegetables, and then also I love doing tacos once a week. Those are like my go-tos, but I really enjoy like bowls lately. So like making like a salmon bowl, those are really easy. You can just prep them on the weekends and they should be ready to go. But for the most part, Nadine eats whatever I eat. So I try to not think of it as like, oh, this is a kid's meal and this is an adult meal. Like she's eating whatever I'm eating. And so, yeah. I hope that this video was helpful and answered all of your questions. Be sure to subscribe so you'll be the first to know when I post. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Do you want to say bye? You got seaweed in your face. Bye.